Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews and another Versus Night. Tonight, I will be comparing The Stranger, released in 1946, versus The Stranger, released in 1973. So, let's get started with the leads. The Stranger from 1946 stars Orson Welles and Edward G. Robinson. The Stranger from 1973 stars Glenn Corbett and Cameron Mitchell. Now, the 1946 Stranger is a really great film. Orson Welles is damn good playing a Nazi fugitive hiding under an assumed name in this town. And Edward G. Robinson is incredible as the Nazi hunter who is there to track him down and bring him to justice. And it's just such a really good film, and is so well acted on both sides of the table on this one. And I really think, even though Orson Welles' performance is really good in this, I really think that Edward G. Robinson really outshines him throughout this film. And that might have been by design, because, Orson Welles also directed the film. So, it might have been his choice to let Edward G. Robinson take the scenes, Whereas The Stranger from 1973, Glenn Corbett has always been a strong actor. And he's playing this astronaut on this planet that looks just like Earth, and he is confused. And he plays all of these emotions that he's doing in this pretty damn good throughout this thing. And then you have Cameron Mitchell playing basically the villain of the piece. But as great as both of those actors are, I like both of them, there is no way that either one of them can compare to Orson Welles or Edward G. Robinson. So this one's an easy win for The Stranger from 1946 for me. All right, now let's move on to supporting. The supporting cast in the 1946 film consists of Loretta Young, Philip Merivale, Richard Long, Constantine Shane, Byron Keith, Billy House, and Martha Wentworth. The supporting cast in the 73 film consists of Tim O'Connor, Sharon Acker, Lou Ayres, Dean Jager, Virginia Gregg, H.M. Winnett, and George Coulouris. Now, the supporting on the 46 film is pretty strong all around the board. Loretta Young playing this woman who meets and is romanced and swept off of her feet by this, handsome, debonair character in Orson Welles, not even realizing that he is a Nazi war criminal. She does a really good job in this film, as does Philip Merivale. playing her father. And then you have the guy playing her brother, which is Richard Long. Now, this is one of his early roles, and he's really young in this, but he was really, really good in this. I really love the scenes with him working with Edward G. Robinson against Orson Welles. Those scenes were really good between those two. Those two had really good chemistry together. Constantine Shane shows up at the beginning, playing the character that is, he's the reason that Edward G. Robinson's Hunter has tracked down Orson Welles' character, because he was trying to sneak down there to where Orson Welles' character was hiding to deliver a message to him, and say that, that their plans, their Nazi plans are still in effect and all this, and eventually, Orson Welles ends up killing him because he doesn't want him to expose him as being who he really is. Byron Keith as the doctor character is really good in this as well. He doesn't have as many scenes as any of the other supporting people, but he's good while he's on screen. Billy House is really good in his role. He is in a lot of scenes, and he just steals the show in most of his scenes, except for when he's in scenes with Edward G. Robinson. Edward G. Robinson kind of, even though his character beats Edward G. Robinson playing chess a lot in these scenes, Edward G. Robinson beats him in the performance department. Nobody can beat Edward G. Robinson in this movie in acting. That man was amazing in this film. And then Martha Wentworth plays the maid to Loretta Young's character, and she was really good in here too. I really liked her performance as well. The supporting cast in the 73 film, out of them, Tim O'Connor is one of those actors that you don't recognize his name. You wouldn't know that name just by saying it, who that is. But once you see him on screen, you would recognize him immediately and know exactly who he is. He's a really good character actor. Sharon Acker is the love interest character to Glenn Corbett, and she's okay in this. I think she could have been played a little better. But this film, I haven't mentioned it yet, but the 73 film, it is a TV movie. So the acting in it is not up to par with all these, bigger budgeted Hollywood films at this time period. Lou Ayres, though, playing her friend, the professor, that she introduces Glenn Corbett's character to, was very likable and very good in this. Dean Jagger only plays in one scene, basically playing the leader of the perfect order of the film. And he feels like a Nazi. Virginia Gregg has one scene as well. And she's okay in that one little sequence that she's in. H.M. Wynant is in a couple of scenes. He's in some at the beginning, and then he turns up again at the end. And he's okay. He's serviceable in his role. He's a good-looking guy. I'm surprised they didn't try to get him for the lead to play Glenn Corbett's role. But Glenn Corbett is great in his role in this. And then George Coulouris was really good in his small role as this bookstore owner that has a little conversation with Glenn Corbett and everything. But as far as the supporting cast go, considering you have a TV budget cast versus a actual Hollywood movie cast with the 46 film, it's not really fair, but I think the supporting in the 46 film is much better. So I'm going to give this to that one as well. All right, let's move on to story. The story on The Stranger from 1946 is a Nazi fugitive hides in a small town in Connecticut and marries an unsuspecting, well-to-do woman for the perfect cover. But a Nazi hunter shows up in town in pursuit of him. Now, the story on the 73 film is a NASA astronaut crashes on a planet identical to Earth called Terra. He finds that the community on this planet are conformed to a Nazi-like regime known as the Perfect Order. Now, going into this, comparing these two films, I was only, comparing them based on they have a similar title. I didn't, I knew that The Stranger 73, I had seen the 46 film before. But the 73 version film, I had not seen that one yet. But I knew that it wasn't following the same film as it wasn't like a remake of the 46 film. So I wasn't expecting any connections or anything, to really connect these films that well. But I was, pleasantly surprised by the fact that, The Stranger from 46 is about a Nazi fugitive who is hiding out and changed his name. He's going by an assumed name to escape captivity. Whereas The Stranger 73, the only thing I knew about it was, it was about a guy who, crash lands on this planet that looks like Earth. And he's very confused. But as I watched it, you got that the perfect order is constantly mentioned throughout it. And it's like, this is like, they're saying that this planet is like Earth if it was dominated by a Nazi regime. And that's really what it feels like when you watch the film. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting story. They do it on a TV budget, of course. And what kind of hurts the film is, I believe it was like a TV pilot for a TV series that was supposed to have been made, but never got greenlit after the pilot episode, which was this film. So unfortunately, this ends on one of those weird endings to where it feels like it's setting up for a sequel or a continuation into a television series, which never happened. So that's unfortunate because it was a really good story, and I really like the performances in it, even though it was a TV film. And the versions that are out there right now of this film are not the highest quality. So any scenes that were supposed to be dark to begin with are very, very dark. It's hard to see a lot of what's going on in those scenes. So that's unfortunate. But that's not a knock against the film itself, because if the film was released in a HD version of it that was the actual film, it would not look like that. So, But The Stranger 46 is just because it has that, Hollywood budget to it and everything, and the Hollywood cast, it just feels so much more professional, and so much, and the performance by, like I said, with Edward G. Robinson, his character at points in that film, I was watching, and I thought that how he reminded me of Peter Falk's Columbo. And I love Peter Falk as Columbo, so having those connections with that character and having him feel like a variation of him prior to, that even happening. Edward G. Robinson, I've always loved him as an actor, so him playing this good guy in the pursuit of this Nazi trying to bring him down was excellent. Now, Loretta Young's performance, it kind of does infuriate you because she will, she starts off okay, she's fine, and then she has the moment where Edward G. Robinson and Philip Marable, her father, revealed to her that Orson Welles' character is this Nazi fugitive. And she just full on goes into denial and goes back to Orson Welles' character and just goes into their, I'll do anything you say, whatever, and it's like, what the hell, woman? So, she does infuriate you because of her not believing in it and everything. And it isn't until Orson Welles' character does a stupid move and tries to have her killed in the clock tower by sawing the ladder, so that whenever she's climbing, one of them's gonna break and she's gonna fall to her death. But that doesn't happen because Loretta's maid, played by Martha Wentworth, stops her by faking like she's, having a heart attack. And then Edward G. Robinson and Richard Long go to check out what he was planning there, and they find that it was, Edward G. Robinson actually, pulls down on that thing and it breaks, and he damn near gets killed in the process. So, she finds out though that her brother could have been killed in that, and then Orson Welles goes up to the tower and hides out up there, and that's when the big finale happens. She finally wakes up and goes up to the tower to confront him and try to kill him, and that's when Edward G. Robinson joins her, and they finally eventually bring him down. And it's a great finale. I love how he gets taken out by his own clock tower. Great ending to the film. Great film. The Stranger from '73. You got Glenn trying to. He's not really trying to fight this perfect order thing that's going on. By the end of the film, he's just trying to get to this shuttle area where they have an actual space program to where he can actually replace the existing astronaut that was going to go into space, and then he can try and get back to Earth. That's what he's trying to do by the end of the film, and unfortunately it doesn't work out well for him because TV show premise elements push the ending to this weird moment where Lou Ayres' character tells him, don't tell Sharon Acker's character, don't tell her, what we're doing here, And then they just leave her out of it, and then she just tries to go home, and then she gets captured by Cameron Mitchell and ends up being brainwashed to work against Glenn Corbett and Lou Ayres.
This is Dr. Cook. I'm driving south on People's Roadway 9.
Good. Keep in contact.
And they fall for it and let her in, let her come to the facility. And, of course, Cameron Mitchell's following.
Are you going to be all right?
Don't worry about me. The perfect order is kind and just.
And the shit goes down at the end, and poor Lou Ayres' character gets killed, and Glenn Corbett's character barely survives and gets away. So, yeah, it's a TV plot, and it rushes it near the end to try to get to the resolution to where he doesn't make it off the planet. And so they can continue it for a television series. It actually feels like it was supposed to have been like a fugitive style TV series with this show, The Stranger. But it never did come to be, unfortunately. So, plot-wise, I'm going to go with the 46 film. Now, let's move on to direction, even though it's apparent that the 46 film is the superior one. Direction, we have Orson Welles directing the 1946 version, and then we have Lee H. Katzin directing the 73 film. Now, Orson Welles on this one, a lot of people praise his film Citizen Kane. I'll be honest, and a lot of you might not agree with this one, but I think Citizen Kane is highly overrated. I think The Stranger from 1946 is a much, much better film and has a much more intriguing and great plot and better acting than what Citizen Kane did, even though Citizen Kane got all the accolades. I think Stranger was one of Orson Welles' best films he's ever directed. So, that always bugged me, that, Citizen Kane got all the accolades. Whereas Lee H. Katzin is a TV show director directing The Stranger, and he does really well in some of the scenes. One scene in particular was really fun and exciting, and that is the chase where the helicopter is chasing after Glenn Corbett's character, and he's driving this car to escape. It really reminded me of the big chase scene in The Gauntlet when the helicopter was chasing him on the motorcycle. But in this one, the helicopter's chasing the car and shooting down at him and everything. And that sequence was really exciting and well shot, well put together. It was a really good action sequence and well done. But other than that sequence, there's not really much else. I mean, near the end, you get moments where it's a hide and seek kind of thing where he's hiding and the bad guys are coming after him and he's popping up out of the, and shooting bad guys and everything and stuff. And, yeah, they have a couple of stunts there where, you know, he'd shoot somebody and they'd fall off of a thing and you know, do that goofy scream that they do. But to me, just because this was a TV movie, it was at a disadvantage from the start against Orson Welles' great 1946 classic. So I'm going to give this one to Orson Welles for The Stranger from 1946 for the win. 4-0. But what do you think of these films? Have you seen both of these films? And do you agree with my assessment on these films? Let me know in those comments down below. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified about future videos just like this one. And while you're by the subscribe button, click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan.
Well, that's the end of another Versus Night. If you missed last week's Versus Night, check out the link up in here. Or if you've missed any of the other Versus Nights, check out our playlist and see anything that you have missed.